We've got a real shocker for you today. The infiltration of the Muslim Brotherhood into agencies of the United States government. He was an advisor to the Department of Homeland Security and was given access to sensitive government documents. Now this Muslim activist from Texas stands accused of leaking some of those documents to the media.
He was reportedly trying to spread charges of Islamophobia, and one lawmaker on Capitol Hill is demanding some answers. Eric Stakelbeck has more in this exclusive report.
Out of 26 members on the Department of Homeland Security's Advisory Council, only Mohammed El-Biari gained access to a nationwide database that includes terror watch lists and sensitive FBI reports. It's unclear why El-Biari was granted this special privilege, but he now finds himself in hot water. He's accused of taking confidential documents from the Texas Department of Public Safety and shopping them to the media. His reported goal: damage Governor and presidential candidate Rick Perry by showing the so-called Islamophobia of Texas government agencies.
Within hours of getting access, he had downloaded those documents and began marketing to these publications.
Investigative journalist Patrick Poole broke the story after being tipped off by one of the publications about El-Biari's alleged plans.
Oddly enough, El-Biari sits on the Texas Department of Public Safety Advisory Council, so this was his own, his own agency that he was sabotaging.
El-Biari is no stranger to controversy. In 2004, he spoke at a Texas conference honoring Iran's notorious Ayatollah Khomeini as a great Islamic visionary. He's written in praise of one of the most influential Islamic radicals of the modern era, former Muslim Brotherhood leader Sayyid Qutb, and he's spoken out against the prosecution of Hamas fundraisers in the U.S. Yet El-Biari has marketed himself as a moderate expert on Muslim de-radicalization, and the U.S. government has taken notice. In 2010, he was named to a working group that helped shape the Obama administration's counterterrorism strategy. Later, Homeland Security Director Janet Napolitano swore him in as part of her advisory council.
You read his writings, he is defending Qutb. This is a guy that Osama bin Laden referred to and studied to give him a basis for his acts of violence. And she puts a guy on Homeland Security Advisory Committee, gives him a secret clearance.
Texas Congressman Louis Gohmert wants an investigation into the El-Biari leak case. He grilled Napolitano about it on Capitol Hill last month.
You have that investigated yourself, and if so, by whom?
Well, since I don't know the facts, I'll have to look into the facts.
So you'll be the one to make that call?
We'll have somebody, it'll be myself or someone.
Gohmert told CBN News the El-Biari incident reflects a larger problem of radical Islamists, including some link to the Muslim Brotherhood, advising the U.S. government on its counterterrorism policies.
Bringing in Muslim Brotherhood to the inner sanctum, saying, look, they like us. This means peace in our time. And what they're doing is subjecting this nation to real danger.
El-Biari's access to the Homeland Security database has reportedly been revoked since the scandal broke. He did not respond to CBN's request for comment. A spokesman for Homeland Security promised us he'd look into the matter, but we have yet to hear back. Eric Stakelbeck, CBN News, Washington.
Shocking, shocking, shocking. Do you hear about that in the so-called mainstream media? Not a story. This is the first time this has come out on national television. We're trying to bring you what's happening, ladies and gentlemen, and is our government asleep, or is it deliberately being corrupted by the Muslim Brotherhood? Hillary Clinton said nice things about the Brotherhood. The Brotherhood is dedicated to establishing the Muslim caliphate. They're dedicated to bringing in a Muslim world system and to put those people in sensitive positions in the government, swear them in, let them take an oath to defend and uphold the Constitution of the United States?
Well, he raised his right hand. You mean he didn't mean that?
Well, I think lying is part of the philosophy that was advocated a long time ago by some of the leadership. But ladies and gentlemen, this is the kind of thing that's happening need to call your congressman, need to get busy. Let's stop this stuff. We have to defend, this is a great nation. We can't have it infiltrated by people like this. Well, so much for that. We've got some more very important stories for you on the show today. And here's Wendy Griffith with the top of the news.
Thank you, Pat. President Obama and French President Nicolas Sarkozy were caught criticizing Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu. The two leaders were having private conversation at the G20 summit last week, unaware that their microphones had accidentally been left on. They were discussing the Palestinians and the UN when the talk turned to Netanyahu. Sarkozy told Obama, quote, "I cannot stand him. He's a liar." Obama replied, "You are sick of him, but I have to deal with him every day." The conversation turned to other matters and continued for several minutes before anyone realized the mics had not been turned off. Pat?
Well, this is just going to enforce or reinforce the feeling that Obama is anti-Israel. They beat him in the 9th District in New York when a Democrat went down in front of a Republican. They'd never had a Democrat in years because the Orthodox Jews turned against the Democrats because of Obama. And here it is again. But this is secret. You can't hear it. Well, I've got to deal with him. He's a liar. I mean, this is talking about the Prime Minister of Israel, our close friend. Well, you're not sick of sex scandals. We've got another one. I hope it doesn't have any substance, but we'll see. Wendy?
Pat, Republican presidential candidate Herman Cain says he will set the record straight about allegations of inappropriate sexual behavior. The latest claim comes from a woman who says Cain made improper physical advances toward her.
I said, "This isn't what I came here for." Mr. Cain said, "You want a job, right?"
Balick is standing by her claims, but Cain calls her account, quote, totally fabricated. And his campaign says he has never harassed anyone. Pat, 4 women, some people say where there's smoke, there's fire. What do you think?
Well, I'm afraid this smoke is going to hurt this man very badly. Apparently, the polls still are showing him strong in Iowa and other states, but along the way, people are going to be saying, well, if we've got to put him into the general election against Obama, what are they going to do to him? But, Bill Clinton had the Jennifer Flowers incident and a whole lot of other stuff, and they wouldn't just smoke. There was lots of fire, and everybody said, well, he's such a nice guy from Arkansas, we're going to elect him anyhow. So you never know. But this thing hasn't done Cain any good. But, Wendy, sexual harassment is just incredible. I mean, somebody can say, well, he touched me inappropriately. Well, who saw it? Nobody saw it, but he just did. And so she goes in front of a microphone. As he says, she says, who knows? But this isn't doing him any good. And, of course, I wish it weren't true, but Michelle Bachmann seems to love to jump on any thing that's out there that, instead of giving her an advantage, is hurting her badly in this campaign. Wendy?
As you mentioned, Michelle Bachmann is telling CBN News that voters can't afford to take a chance on presidential candidates who may have surprises from their past. CBN's David Brody sat down with Bachmann after a speech to the Family Research Council where she seemed to allude to Herman Cain's troubles.
I think we're at a critical point in choosing our nominee. Again, we've gone up and down with who candidates are, and the voters are constantly getting surprised by the candidates, new information that comes out. What I want people to know is that there are no surprises with me. When it comes to policy, I have been consistent as the day is long. You won't find any YouTube clips in my background. You won't find any policy skeletons in my closet.
And you can see more of David's interview with Bachmann on his blog, The Brody File. Just go to cbnnews.com to find that. Well, Republicans go to church more often than Democrats, and conservatives outnumber liberals in America. Those are some of the findings from recent Gallup surveys. 52% of Democrats say they seldom or never go to church. But as CNSnews.com reports, another recent Gallup survey found that 38% of Republicans say they seldom or never go to church. 61% of Republicans go to church weekly or monthly, compared to 47% of Democrats. The latest poll also found that 42% of Americans call themselves conservatives, while only 21% say they are liberals. Only 21% say they're liberals, Pat. That kind of surprised me.
Well, it's a dirty word to say. The L word is nasty. You don't want to be called a liberal anymore because that scares the voters. But, you know, Wendy, the thing that we may be seeing here is a divide, a cultural divide between those on the left who don't have religious values and those on the right who do. And it reflects in a worldview, it reflects in the way you deal with government, it reflects in how you tax people, it reflects all the way up and down the line. And it's the basic concept of either God's in charge or the government is in charge. We take our liberties from God or we take our liberties from the government. And these two conflicting points of view have been certainly evident since the French Revolution and before. It certainly was evident in communism. And we're seeing it evident now, according to this Gallup survey here in the United States. So just keep in mind when you hear all this rhetoric what you're dealing with. Wendy?
A majority of small and medium-sized businesses say they won't be hiring any new employees. They say the economy is just too weak. That's one of the findings in a survey conducted by Sage, a business software company. U.S. News and World Report says the survey found that 77% of small businesses do not plan to hire new workers. Only 7% think they will hire new employees. 64% believe the U.S. is in a new recession now or headed for one. Well, Italy's debt crisis is getting worse. Investors are getting more and more worried about whether Italy will be able to pay back all its debt. And that's putting pressure on Italian Premier Silvio Berlusconi to resign. Analysts doubt that Berlusconi can push through the government cutbacks and reforms Italy needs to get through the crisis. Italy is the 8th largest economy in the world and 3rd largest in the Eurozone, and it has a debt of $2.6 trillion. Italy is considered to be too big to bail out, and that's a big problem, isn't it, Pat?
Well, Wendy, while we're talking right now, the Italian parliament is having a vote, and Berlusconi needs 316 votes to indicate he's got a majority in the parliament. If he fails at that 316, then he's going to have to call for a vote of confidence, and that will mean he'll probably resign, which will mean a snap election, and it will throw Italian politics into chaos. Right now, Italy, it's 120% of GDP is their debt, and it's about 1.9 trillion euros, which is about $2.3 trillion. And it's bigger. The Italian debt is bigger than the debt of Greece, Spain, Portugal, and Ireland combined.
Wow. What do you think is going to happen? Is he going to get the votes?
No, he's not going to get the votes. He's got enough problems. I mean, he was a powerful guy and a big media mogul, but I mean, there's all these sex scandals and stuff that's been going on. I mean, he's damaged goods, and I think the Italians want to get rid of him, and this will be the end of his coalition, it seems like to me. But so what? We also learned that the French banks particularly and other European banks are dumping sovereign debt, and they're taking losses on it. They're just selling it out.
So what happens to the euro at the end of all of that?
Well, Terry, they want to hold it together. But I think the euro block's going to fall apart. I think it doesn't have any cohesion. But we'll see. I mean, they're doing everything they can to keep it going because they think it's a nice thing to have a common currency. But the austerity and industriousness of Germany is compared with the lax standards of Italy and Greece. And sooner or later, it's got to be north-south split something, maybe a tier 1, tier 2. But what they've got right now isn't going to work. But it's going to hurt us. It's going to hurt the United States. But a lot of our banks, I think, have unloaded sovereign debt. But this is what got John Corzine of that MF Global. He made a $6 billion bet on sovereign debt. He said, I think sovereign debt's going up. So he plunged large amounts of money, probably went on futures and so forth for his company, and the company went bankrupt. It's not cool. All right.
A grenade attack on a church in Kenya left 2 people dead Sunday. The attackers hurled the grenade into a Pentecostal church in eastern Kenya near the Somali border, injuring a mother and her 2 children. Police say they aren't ruling out the Islamic al-Shabaab terrorist group, which controls parts of Somalia. Al-Shabaab has promised retaliation for Kenyan military activity in its territory. Public school students in Cambridge, Massachusetts are back in class today after getting Monday off for a Muslim holiday known as the Festival of Sacrifice. The Cambridge school system is believed to be the first in the state to give all students a day off for a Muslim holiday. The school committee approved the day off last year because of the district's sizable Muslim population. The superintendent told the Boston Globe that it's in line with the district's values of, quote, inclusion and respect. But one committee member says he received criticism and even some threats after the holiday was approved. Well, you can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.com.